You've been told to budget by your parents, by financial advisors, by every personal finance article you've ever read. Make a budget. Stick to your budget. Track every dollar. And you probably tried, maybe many times. You sat down, wrote out your income, listed your expenses, assigned categories, set limits, and for a while, it felt like control, like you finally had a plan. But then life happened, an unexpected expense, a bad week, a moment where the budget felt like a prison, and you broke it, and felt guilty, and either started over or gave up entirely, and blamed yourself for lacking discipline, for being bad with money, for not being able to do something that everyone says is so simple. But here's what nobody tells you. The problem wasn't you. The problem was the budget itself. Because traditional budgeting is one of the least effective financial tools ever invented. And this video is going to show you why, and what actually works instead. Let's start with what budgeting actually requires. It requires you to track every dollar, every purchase, every category, every day, for months, for years, without stopping, without forgetting, without a single bad week derailing the whole system. That's not a financial tool, that's a second job, and most people already have one of those. Here's the problem with tracking every dollar. It requires constant decisions. Is this a food expense or entertainment? Does this go in transport or miscellaneous? Did I already hit my dining budget this week? Dozens of small decisions, every day. And we already know what happens to decisions. They deplete your energy. They exhaust your willpower. They make every subsequent choice worse. So by the time you've tracked your morning coffee, categorized your lunch, and logged your transport costs, you have less mental energy left for everything else that matters. Your work, your relationships, your actual life. Budgeting doesn't just fail financially, it costs you in ways you never account for. Let's look at the data. Studies show that roughly 80% of people who create a budget abandon it within 3 months. Not because they're irresponsible, because the system is unsustainable. It requires too much, too consistently, under too many different conditions. And here's what's even more revealing. People who budget strictly and people who don't budget at all end up with similar savings rates. On average, because budgeting addresses the symptom, not the cause. The symptom is overspending. The cause is a broken system. And tracking your spending in 47 categories doesn't fix the system. It just makes you more aware of how broken it is. Now compare that to people who automate their finances. No budget, no tracking, no categories, just automatic systems. Their savings rate is consistently 2 to 3 times higher. Not because they know where every dollar goes, because their money moves before they can spend it. Same income, no budget. 3 times the savings. The budget was never the solution. First objection. Budgeting does work. The problem is people don't stick to it. If you're disciplined enough, a budget is the foundation of financial health. And this is technically true. A budget that is followed perfectly does work. The same way a diet that is followed perfectly works. The same way an exercise plan that is followed perfectly works. Perfect execution of any system produces results. But here's the question that matters. How many people follow a budget perfectly? For months? For years? Not many, because perfect execution requires conditions that real life doesn't provide. Real life has unexpected expenses, Real life has emotional spending. Real life has stress and fatigue and complicated months. And a system that only works perfectly doesn't work. Not in the real world. The best financial system is not the one that's perfect in theory. It's the one that survives imperfect reality. And budgeting does not survive imperfect reality. For most people. Most of the time. Here's something deeper. Beyond the practical failure of budgeting, the budget mindset itself is harmful. Here's why. Budgeting is fundamentally restrictive. It tells you what you can't do, what you can't spend, where the limits are. And restriction creates obsession. Psychologists call it the forbidden fruit effect. The more you tell yourself you can't have something, the more you want it. The more you restrict spending, the more spending occupies your mind. The more you track what you're not supposed to buy, the more you think about buying it. This is why strict diets lead to binge eating, and why strict budgets lead to spending explosions. One difficult week, one emotional moment, one "I deserve this" thought, and the budget breaks. Not because you're weak, because restriction without flexibility always breaks eventually. The goal is not to restrict spending. The goal is to redirect it, away from things that don't build, toward things that do, automatically, before the emotion arrives, before the temptation appears, before the bad week hits. Second objection. If I don't track my spending, how do I know where my money is going? Awareness is the first step to change. And awareness matters. Understanding your spending patterns is valuable. But here's the distinction. Awareness is a starting point, not a permanent system. You track your spending for 1 month, just one, to understand the patterns, to find the leaks, to see where money disappears without a decision. And then you build a system around what you find, not a budget. A system. Here's the difference. A budget says, you can spend $200 on food this month. A system says, your savings move automatically. Spend whatever is left. A budget requires daily decisions. A system makes the important decision once and lets everything else flow naturally. You don't need to know where every dollar goes. You need to make sure the important dollars go somewhere intentional before the rest gets spent. That's not a budget. That's a system. Here's what works instead of budgeting. 3 accounts, 3 purposes. 0 tracking required. Account 1. Bills account. Every fixed expense goes here. Rent. Utilities. Insurance. Subscriptions. Calculate the total. Transfer exactly that amount. On the day your paycheck arrives, automatically. This account pays bills. Nothing else. Account 2. Building account. This is your savings and investment account. At a different bank. No debit card, no easy access. A fixed percentage of your income moves here automatically. The day after your paycheck, before you see it, before you can spend it. 10% is ideal. 5% is fine. Even 3% is a start. Account 3, live-in account. Everything that's left. After bills, after savings. This is your spending money. Groceries, dining, entertainment, clothes. Spend it however you want. No tracking. No categories. No guilt. When it's gone, it's gone. Wait for the next paycheck. 3 accounts. Set up once. Running automatically. No budget required. No tracking required. No willpower required. Just a system. Last objection. This can't be right. Managing money can't be this simple. There must be more to it. And I understand this reaction. We've been told for so long that managing money is complicated, that simple solutions feel suspicious. But here's the truth. The complexity of personal finance is mostly manufactured by financial institutions, by budgeting apps, by advisors who benefit from your confusion. Because confused people buy products, subscribe to services, hire advisors. The actual principles of building wealth are not complicated. Spend less than you earn. Make the difference move automatically. Put it somewhere that grows. Don't touch it. That's it. Everything else is noise. The 3-account system is simple because the solution to most financial problems is simple. Not easy. Simple. And the difference matters. Easy means no effort. Simple means clear. The effort is in setting it up, in having the conversation with yourself, in making the transfers, in not touching the building account. That's the effort. But the system itself is simple. And simple systems survive real life. Complicated systems don't. 3 steps. Done today. Step 1. Calculate your fixed expenses. Rent, utilities, insurance, regular bills. Add them up. That's your bills account number. Step 2. Open 2 new accounts. 1 for bills, 1 for building. The building account at a different bank. No debit card. No easy access. Step 3. Set up 2 automatic transfers. The day your paycheck arrives. Transfer 1. Fixed expenses amount to bills account. Transfer 2. Your savings percentage to building account. What's left in your main account is your living money. Spend it freely, without tracking, without guilt. When it's gone, it's gone. This system takes 30 minutes to set up and then runs automatically every month without a decision being made, without a budget being followed, without willpower being required. Just a system, working quietly, building consistently, while you live your life. Here's the truth about budgeting. It's not that budgeting is wrong. It's that budgeting is the wrong tool for most people, in most situations. It requires too much, too consistently, under conditions that real life never guarantees. The alternative is not chaos. It's a system, one that makes the important decisions automatically, before emotions arrive, before temptation appears, before the difficult week hits. 3 accounts, 3 purposes. Set up once, running always. You don't need to track every dollar. You need to make sure the right dollars move in the right direction before the rest gets spent. That's not a budget. That's a system. And systems outlast budgets. Every time, the decision is yours.